Hi, I think I'll do a little video tour of the garden for any of you who might be interested in some of the things that we're doing for vertical gardening and just growing some stuff that we've never grown before. So let's get started. I'll start right here with our tomatoes. We're growing in buckets in these self-watering containers that we've made from the 5-gallon buckets. We got a bunch of buckets from Harbor Freight and they're a bit loud, so Adam painted them. So they have a false bottom and a wicking system that brings water up from the reservoir that's on the bottom, and you can also fill through the tube in addition to having rain fall down on your plants, and supposedly it makes stronger roots because the plants can reach for the water that's down at the bottom. And there's overflow holes so that they don't soak your roots too much. So I've got a lot of different kinds of tomatoes that I'm growing. I have some extra plants if anyone's interested. We've got some cherry tomatoes, and hopefully they'll all start to grow up this trellis and we can tie them off. Over here we've got some potatoes. I've never grown potatoes before. Got a couple containers. I'm even growing them in a grocery bag. We've got some leeks along with some parsley and lots of random stuff. We've got some carrots that have been going for quite a while. They were kind of planted too close together, so I don't know how well they're going to do, but these are some of the tomato containers. This is Petunia hanging out. This is our trellis we put up this year, so that's going to support our climbing vegetables like cucumbers, cucuzzi. I'm going to try to grow loofah. We've got stuff growing on both sides of the trellis close to it, and I'll start training some of these plants to go up. Right now my loofah's looking a little sad because it doesn't really like the cold, but we'll see. I've got some tomatoes over here as well, and interspersed doing a lot of companion planting, a lot of intercropping of things because we have such a small space. So I've got a lot of flowers, marigolds. There's some poppies, calendula. I put in some radishes because our first batch of radishes did so well. So we've got a lot of stuff in there. Here's some more self-watering bucket. This has a couple of pepper plants in it. This isn't self-watering, but it's got our ground cherries. I'm growing 5 different kinds of tomatillos and ground cherries this time. So that's going to be interesting. I don't know how it's all going to go. Got sage, we've got chamomile, some flowers, borage, which hopefully that will flower soon. This is my brassica bed. It's covered to protect from cabbage moths and cabbage worms. And I've got some cabbage in there. I've got some lettuce, which really doesn't need to be covered, but it's just in there. And we've got some mabuna, which is a mustard, and a couple of Brussels sprouts. This lily was in this bed, which used to be a flower bed, and it kind of popped up out of nowhere. So we're gonna leave it go until it's done flowering. Got some kohlrabi. This is a purple kohlrabi variety, which will be interesting to see. More lettuce, more ground cherries. That's our asparagus bed. It's year 2 of asparagus, so maybe next year we'll have thick enough asparagus that we can actually harvest. We're leaving it for now. Here's another one of our strategies for the year for vertical gardening. I got these modular pots from Dollar Tree, and we drilled extra holes in them and then put a PVC down the middle to keep it from tipping over. And in that we have lots of greens mostly. It's looking a little dry right now, but mostly greens, some arugula, spinach, kale, bok choy, and some flowers and some lettuce. So it's doing pretty well. We've got pink strawberry flowers, which I've never seen before, and my strawberry tower. These are squash, and there's petunia looking for trouble. Let's go over here. This is one of my beds. I'm struggling to keep my little kittens out of beds because they like to pee on things and poop on things. This bed has a tomato in it and some beets and some tatsoi, some carrots. Some of the onions are looking a little sad right now, but we'll see how they do. This is my pepper bed, which I had to fence off to keep the kittens from. This was one of their favorite pooping spots, so I had to fence it off because I have so many different pepper varieties in here. I have some bell peppers, jalapenos, tomatillo, lemon pepper, violet pepper, Hungarian wax. There's ancho chili. There's a bunch of different pepper varieties in here. So now that it's gotten warmer, they'll probably perk up. These are 2 overwintered cabbage. We had several purple cabbage that overwintered. It's beautiful leaves. Couple of them bolted, so we pulled them, and these might form heads. They look like they may round up some heads on there, so we might get some purple cabbage out of that. If not, we'll try growing again in the fall. We didn't do cabbage early enough in the fall, but we'll see how it goes. I've got some beans in here and dinosaur kale, which is getting shaded a little bit, and some garlic. The garlic will go for another month or so, and then that will be harvested out, and I can put something else in there. I've got a strawberry pot up there on the wall. We've got flowering bok choy. We're just waiting for the seed pods on these and letting the pollinators have the flowers. There's our peas. This is one of our 2 compost bins. This is our newer one. We had to stop adding stuff to the outer side compost bin because it wasn't really finishing off. I'll show you out here. We made another little bed out here with the trellis because this corner gets really good sun, so we're hoping that by when the sun moves across the side of the house, that this area will get a lot of good sun. These cabbages also overwintered. This is some Savoy cabbage, and again I had cabbages that they bolted because the weather got warm, and then it got cold, and then it got warm again, so they didn't really know what to do. But these 2 have not bolted, so we're just going to let them go and see what happens. I'm like violating every rule of companion planting in this bed because I have snow peas, I have snap peas, I have a squash, I have beans, and there's a couple of Brussels sprouts in here. So I just kind of and beets. There's some things in here together that they say you shouldn't plant together, but I'm not going to worry about it too much because we don't have a lot of room. So if stuff doesn't do well, it'll get pulled. Here is our other compost bin. It's pretty full and probably could use a drink of water, but it's looking pretty. It's looking like it's gonna start cooking. We'll see how it goes, and probably this compost won't be ready until the fall, but we're not in any hurry for it. But I've also got some vermicompost bins going in the basement. It's super easy to do, and you can generate your own worm castings, which can be very expensive if you try to buy them. Right, bub? Right? Got my garden helpers here. This bed has a cover on it to keep the cabbage moths out of it. It's all brassicas. It's my broccoli and Chinese broccoli. You can see the heads are forming. So this was planted. This was actually winter sowed seeds. I sowed seeds in milk jugs in the winter, let them go, and they sprouted when they were good and ready. And then I planted out all that stuff into this bed. There's some Japanese chard and Chinese broccoli and regular broccoli. And then I put some dill in here, which is having a hard time finding the sun right now. But eventually, in a month or two, all this broccoli will be harvested, so we won't have to worry about what's going on in there. Adam built me these shelves for my plants to make use of vertical space, and another thing we're doing is these grow bags, which I saw used at Frank's Nursery in Columbia, and I liked them so well I looked online to find some, and we're trying some flowers. It's just really nice hanging stuff vertically on the fence. This bed has a bunch of things in it too. It's got some beets and some carrots. The carrots are going very slow, but we'll see what happens. We had a good crop of radishes. All that's left right now is mostly watermelon radish. The few that I've pulled up don't look so great. They're kind of fibrous. But the white icicle radishes and French breakfast and cherry bell radishes, anything round and red, has been good. The watermelon radishes, don't know what's going to happen with that. Spinach is on the decline here. It looks like it's going to flower. It's going to be too hot for it pretty soon. So I put in an eggplant there and an eggplant there. And we'll see how it goes. What else is over here? These are some climbing things interplanted with lettuce in this one. And there's a squash. And I put a marigold in there, which hopefully will attract some pollinators. And again, I violated another rule by putting a cucumber and a tomato in the same pot, but I figure I will just make sure that it's well fed with fertilizer, because both kinds of plants are heavy feeders. So we'll see how that goes. This is my greens bed, which I'm trying to diversify a little bit. It's got a few broccolis there in the back, a bunch of different kinds of lettuce. I put some tatsoi in here. My chard is still coming back. I kept thinking I was going to cut it, but it's still coming back. The cilantro is coming back. This is a Mizuna mustard green. These are kind of cool, very spicy, good in a salad. This is also Mabuna mustard greens. I cut them when it was in a different bed, and then I moved it, so it's not looking too happy right now, but it'll bounce back. And then I've got this little, who knows what this is, little orange thing that's growing. Very, very curious. So here's another one shot of our grow bags. Here's our potato in a grow bag. It's kind of cool. It's really neat. I've never grown potatoes. This is going to be Yukon Gold. Got some leeks. I've covered the stalks to keep the stalks blanched. To be honest, I haven't paid them as much attention as they probably need. I think they need a little water. So yeah, we've got some stuff going on here. Let's see. Got extra plants, got extra tomatoes. Here's our greenhouse situation. This is where I keep everything that's kind of coming along. It gets very, very hot in this little greenhouse. So I always have to shade it and peel this cover. Otherwise, things get really super hot in here. I'm trying to root some milkweed. I don't think that's going to work. This is a different kind of milkweed that I grew from seed, butterfly milkweed. Trying to be good to the pollinators. We got some squash and watercress and a whole bunch of let's see what's down here. A bunch of extra ground cherry plants, if anybody wants one. Got a bunch of extra tomato plants. So yeah, things are looking up. That's pretty much where we're at right now with the backyard. Thanks for watching.